to go to DMV a few days ago, I observed that there were a lot of people who were challenged by how they had to stand in the line and wait. Oh, come to think of it, I did tell you guys about it because my last video was literally about me observing disabled folks. You know, part of that story. And then it got me thinking about something else, which I remember being in high school and teachers were always urging you to stay in school, to go to college and things like that. That way you can earn a great job and be more white collarish as opposed to blue collar worker. So basically, when I was in school, blue collar working was associated as something negative because it's manual labor, it tends to be hard. I get it, because when I think about myself, I'm definitely a blue collar worker, but at least the kind of work that I do is not one that I can say my health is incredibly at risk. The one thing that I feel at risk with is my physical well-being from the perspective of fatigue. Like my lower back will hurt, my back may hurt if I don't watch, my posture, my legs may sometimes cramp up because I'm on my feet all day. Little things like that. That is something that we can cope with, as opposed to, say, being a freaking miner and you have to worry about things like air quality, what's getting on your skin, what's getting on your lungs, what's getting in your eyes, stuff like that. So I understand from that perspective of how risky something is, how blue collar working can be something that's negative. But when I think about my job, my type of job, and any other job that's similar to this, especially one in which you have a good bit of manual labor, is it really bad though to have a job that's manual labor? Because the way I look at it, one of the things that makes me reject the idea of having an office job is that I like to move. I like to stand up and walk and move and run and lift and bend and pull and push. And when I was in school, I remember thinking to myself, yeah, maybe I need to be a white collar worker because I want to be able to make a fair enough living. But it's not because I mind the idea of having to use my body to work. And sometimes I think about those of us who have jobs that are physically demanding. I'm not saying that all of us who have a job that's physically demanding are all in optimal shape. We're all in an optimal weight range and stuff like that. But I'm just saying that at least when I watch the data on my stupid watch, for instance, today I worked, and according to this, I burned around 346 calories in a shift. I think about it as, could it be that manual labor is actually helping me live a little longer because I'm using my body more, I'm more physically active, whereas folks who are white collar workers, some of them tend to suffer with balancing their lives. For instance, your job is not really helping you have a habit of moving around a lot. And I have observed that in the medical offices that I have parked at to nibble on something while I do some of my reviews. Sometimes I see some of those workers on their lunch breaks out there walking, doing laps, or even getting a little jog in. And I think that's awesome because these people tend to work 12-hour shifts. Some of them are moving about, some of them are in the front desk. And I feel like some of the jobs where it's required that you be sedentary for most of your shift, you tend to be the one who may struggle with healthy habits because after your shift is over, you want to go home and you really don't like the idea of doing more work. Maybe that's why you don't want to cook. Maybe that's why you're dreading the idea of going to the gym because you're like, how am I supposed to make time for this? So on and so forth. Is it really bad to think of blue collar jobs as, oh my God, they're physically demanding, therefore blue collar job bad? I only want to address this from the perspective of blue collar jobs in which you're not sedentary, that are managed properly. Like say, you don't have to be on a hard floor without a fatigue mat, for example. I think that I'm pretty healthy as a customer service worker because at least I have my fatigue mat here and there. And mostly so, given that my role is primarily cashiering. But when I observe some of my colleagues who are on the sales floor, they don't get to use a fatigue mat. And if it were me, I would try to find a way to have like a personal sized one, like a smaller one, so that as I stalk or something, I can use that, and I would just promise that it won't turn into a tripping hazard. We used to condemn blue collar works, but when I think about it, because you're so physically active, I genuinely think that a job in which you're required to move is literally healthy for you, and maybe it's helping you live longer. But if you had a job in which you didn't have to move around a lot because that really wasn't required of you, most of your work is done through the computer or is just paper oriented and stuff like that, is that really promoting a healthy lifestyle for you if you go home and you're drained from the day that you had, and understandably you don't feel like doing more work, which is what physical activity requires of you when you're exercising? From that perspective, that's how I can feel pretty empathetic about the people who struggle with this. But in a sense, like I was mentioning earlier, because I like to move, that's why I said I like the idea of a white collar job that's blue collar style. Like I would like the status of white collar, but with the movement that my blue collar experience has granted me. Because I'm telling you, on the days that I don't work, I can feel my body's difference in that if I go too many days without working, I get weaker, even if I continue to exercise. I just wanted to randomly put this out there and share this observation, this sentiment. Some of you are going to disagree, some of you may agree. I just want you to understand the point that I don't like how in school, at least in my school, but I'm imagining this happened pretty much everywhere, blue collar jobs were always looked down upon, insulted, and associated as negative. But when I, in hindsight, evaluate what I remember observing, a lot of people who had the white collar positions, you all tend to suffer from health issues a little quicker from what I observe. And it has to do mostly with you not getting enough physical activity. So how is it that a job in which you're moving around, how would that be bad for you? Again, I'm not talking about those high risk manual labor like construction, mining, things like that. Like try to keep it simple. Look at it from my level, which is something like retail, kind of physical activity. I really think that a job like that should stay over the stupid tech jobs and things, even though tech work is probably going to AI. But what I'm trying to say is that having a job in which you're physically moving a lot may save your life, but you also need to consider what kind of position to hold. I could never be full time doing what I'm doing because one of the first things to go is going to be my health. And even as a part timer, I'm suffering physical consequences that come from my job. But some of it is because I wasn't careful about certain things. Like maybe I was trying to rush to do something and I didn't watch how I took a step, I didn't watch how I lifted something. So some of those injuries might have been self-inflicted. But I hope that what I'm trying to project makes sense. Just stop insulting manual labor. I think it's great work, and I think it's practical because that way you maintain fine manipulation skills that may become useful outside of there. And I'll give you an example. While I was helping my mom move out, we had to go to a post office because there's some stuff that she wanted to ship. If it weren't for my job and, say, my gym training, there is no way I could have helped her push 9 boxes, moving boxes, and take them into UPS, load them, unload them for her, lift them onto the counter. And a lot of the techniques that I used to do that, I learned from work, because at work, I'm taping, I'm lifting, I'm using carts and trolleys and U-boats, floats, all those things. Those skills, physical labor, became useful in my personal life to assist someone. And maybe in the future, when I move, I'll have that skill as well. And I was able to obtain that through my blue collar job. See what I mean? Just a very basic example of what I'm trying to illustrate. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts as always, and I'll see you soon.